Welcome to the next edition of Amnic Cast. We have Namrata, who heads cloud practice at Mercedes-Benz, and we'll be talking about GenAI and DevOps. But before that, I just want to put a disclaimer here that, again, our panelists will be sharing their personal opinions, knowledge, and expertise in this respective field. Their views are their own and do not represent the official positions, policies, or endorsements of the companies they work for. So all the discussions here are intended to reflect their individual experiences and insights. With that, welcome, Namrata. So why don't you give a brief journey about like where you started off and what you're currently working on?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sathya, and thanks for having me here. So I started off my journey while fresh out of college from NIT Allahabad, formerly REC Allahabad, and started my journey with Wipro Technologies. So my initial first domain where I worked was in SAP. So I started my journey with SAP and working on different technologies and different domains within SAP, starting with SAP Enterprise Portal, moving on to SAP Master Data Management and SAP Master Data Governance. So while I was working with all these modules within SAP, I got a really good business knowledge and domain knowledge of the clients or industries that I was working with, be it travel and hospitality business, be it CPG industries or manufacturing industries. And then while I was shifting from one domain to another, I started working on SAP HANA and SAP Native HANA. And that gave me while we were, and this was at the time of early 2000 when we were moving into cloud. So, SAP HANA cloud had come up. So we were, moving into cloud. And that's how my officially cloud journey started. So moving from Wipro, I was there in IBM for a decade, and then I was in EY for a year, and before joining MB. And since it's now in MB, I'm leading the cloud and the DevOps practices, and I have few other portfolios also with me. In FOSS and IT transformation is one of them.
Awesome. Welcome to the Amnicast. And what is the
Thank you.
current problem statement that you are passionate about that you're currently working on?
Yeah, sure. So while I work actively on cloud and DevOps. So this entire concept of and especially with GenAI coming in, this entire concept of automating the landscape and automating the technical landscape is into talks now. And with that, the main what we want to give it back to our developers, because they are building the core software development for any organization, be it for MB they are building applications, or be it for any other any other clients or any other products. So the main area that we are, personally for me also, that I wanted to see it how we can make our developers productive. And this is very much talk of the town. People really want our developers to work core on their which they are really passionate about writing business logic, writing the correct, cracking the code, how to build it, and how to quickly ship it, deploy it, and make our business realize the importance of that code. So while we are working on this entire DevOps processes and trying to fit in how we increase the overall developer experience, how we elevate their developer happiness. So this was the main problem statement that recent days or in recent months, I could say that I was looking at how do we build an ecosystem so the way the developer feels happy and they feel that elevated, that yes, I am doing what my core job is, rather than being too involved in the DevOps processes, in the reviews, in the pipeline, setting up pipelines, how we push to production, in the testing. And there are so many, aspects that are involved until it goes into deployment. And instead of worrying about that, they can focus purely on their development part. And with that objective, with that objective, I was looking in what is actually the entire industry is moving on to. And I believe that most of the organizations, to some extent, few have already done it and they have long back implemented it, like Microsoft or Google. They already have like elevated developer experience because of an introduction of a developer platform within their landscape. Or the other companies are still building up their developer platforms, an ecosystem for the developers to work on, so that it takes away the cognitive load from our developers. So it started with a developer experience, you call it productivity, bringing in efficiency, but then there is a whole ecosystem that is now getting built up, and especially now powering with Gen AI, it has reached to a next level. So there are a lot of steps here, that we are working on, and that even I am also personally interested to see how do we elevate it, and how Gen AI can also help us in this entire process of DevOps. DevOps is one such word. Cloud was, I think, probably cloud has been on for couple of years now, but DevOps is the next big thing that is in now. That how do we make the entire development and operation process, along with the agile methodologies that it works on, how we will make it seamless and easier. So that's these are a few couple of things that I can think about, that recent times what my focus also has been on.
Well, I would want to divide this into two parts, right? Pre-Gen AI and
Hmm.
post-Gen AI, because after Gen AI, a lot of things are could be done, right? But before we jump into
Absolutely.
that,
Hmm.
how do you what were your current what have you seen currently being adopted in the internal development platform stage that has you have seen that has given a tremendous improvement in developer productivity?
Yeah. So see, I mean, what I saw is in most of the industries, the developers, they have a varied tools, stacks, technologies available with them to reach their end goal of writing code, setting up pipeline, and putting it into production.
Mhm.
And probably, across organizations and within organizations as well, the different projects might be using different tool sets, they're using different frameworks. So when you are a small organization, you can still live with it, but when as your organization grows, there is a very strong rule, or there is a very strong case where you would like to set up some golden paths for your developer,
Yep.
where you would want to make it kind of a self-service portal for developers. With one or two teams, it's fine, but now with the project complexity grows, now with the safe agile methodology, when you have different art teams working together, different development teams working on different topics areas coming together, it becomes really important that you have some self-service portal which has a golden path or a framework already set up, which glues all your different tools technologies together, so that you are taking the best practices from the golden path that are already under in the underlying technology that are already there, and lot of the repetitive tasks that each project encounters, I bet each development team encounters, they have a centralized solution for it, so that they don't have to build their own answers again and again. Question might be same across all the projects, but they are building their own answers because they are trying to solve it in silos. When you set up a platform for an organization, or for or for your teams, that everyone is following some golden path, they are doing it in a standardized framework, and that brings in speed, that also brings in quality in your application development, which is also a need of a hour.
Got it. And have you measured some of these aspects in terms of, okay, I put all these things because intuitively you know that, yes, if I speed up the process, including what Amnic does, right? We have a IDP where everybody just goes and pushes it, it comes. Now, but Amnic already had it even from the first time, right? Have you
Hmm.
measured some of these things, like for a company or any things that you have heard about, like how much productivity boost you actually get using some of these things?
Correct. So, see, there are some contradicting views when it comes to measuring developer productivity. Few of the one side of the coin says we should not be ideally measuring developer productivity. It's like an antithesis to what they're already doing when they know when they are being measured. And on other side of the coin, it says that yes, we should have some metrics or some KPIs to follow when you are actually doing some development. And we all know Google space framework is there, and Dora metrics, which has already been there as a metrics already been set up. So I think it has to be a sweet combination of Dora metrics as well, where you have all those four KPIs set up on lead time to change, or mean time to repair. How is your survey coming up, NPS, or deployment frequency, and then but then equally hand in hand should go with the space framework, where you're also looking for not just in numbers, just not quantitative measurement, like because Dora is strictly quantitative. You're also looking at a qualitative aspects in terms of how is the speed, how is the satisfaction, how is the performance, how is the efficiency also being bring up. So both, it has to be, I would say, it has to be a mix of both these KPIs to measure a developer productivity, and directly not go in numbers on the paper, numbers on the chart, and see, okay, last time we did development in 2 weeks, why not with 1 week? Because it is not that easy to define. The every project complexity is different, the underlying tool stack is different, and they have their own set of user stories and tasks that they defined on how much is their sprint velocity. So you can't measure it between two project team, but internally I feel that every project should track them to measure their metrics. They have to set their own KPIs. It should not be a forced KPI. They have to set their own KPIs. And this entire journey to being, that elite performer in Dora metrics is also a journey. It's not something an end goal. It should be something in tandem with your developers and with your, entire product ownership team, or within your application team, that should be done.
Yeah, amazing thoughts, right? Because if you start measuring how much a developer lines of code he writes or he or she writes, or if you start tracking it, it becomes very
Hmm.
subjective. Because like I can be a
Absolutely.
UI developer and I can do much more versus I'm writing a big algorithm. It always becomes subjective in terms of how many lines of code that you do. I think, as you said, it's a mixture of like looking at the velocity and putting in
Hmm.
the context of the team of how you do it, right? So
Correct. and
now
and
moving.
and this one more thought point to add is, see, all these KPIs that comes up, if we have to really decide which one do you want to measure it at an individual level, at a system level, or at the team level itself. Everything deployment frequency, just for an example, there is no point in tracking it at an individual level. If people know I'm being measured with the number of deployments, let me do put one full stop and deploy it, commit it. So there are different levels also. Each KPI you should really see which one should be measured at a team level, system level, and individual level, and then track it accordingly. Because both the in Dora metrics, both the speed, which is measured by your mean time to repair, deployment frequency, and chili deployment frequency, and the quality that comes with MTTR or CFR. Both these speed and quality should go hand in hand. So it has to be a right balance between both these KPIs.
Also, but on a different note, right? Having experienced some of these things with and without, right? Like the thing is, like a lot of times I've heard people that they are waiting on deployment or this is still not done and all those things. With an IDP, some of those things which are actually dependent on people are gone, right? Because as a tool with a golden path and a lot of these things like what you
Hmm.
mentioned, it becomes more in terms of okay, here is a golden path for a Spring Boot application, use that, and all the best practices are there. And at least the knowledge gap between different teams is what I have observed by implementing an IDP, making sure that hey, here's a golden path, just take it and go and implement
Hmm.
it, right? So
Correct. So I mean, the main, see, we want this IDP. It is for our people, for our developer community. We want it at their disposal. What if, in a way, if it eases their life, that's the whole intention, and if it elevates their efficiency and experience, that's the whole underlying fact that we want to have it. And that's also an intention. As an upper intention for us is also to standardize it, to make it as secure as possible. So this would be, I would say, platform is a product for them, where they come, they write in their code, they check in, any automation that is done, of spinning up, infra for them, spinning up, provisioning environments for them, to roll back any changes, to deploy any changes, and automated monitoring. If it's all they are available in one platform, then why not? Then why not? The developers will be happy that yes, I am able to work better with this and with the standard system that I have. But
also one thing
definitely it has to keep upgrading, and it has to keep evolving, because every day there are new use cases coming or new technologies that are coming up. So I would say IDP is a continuous journey.
So with that note, I think it's a continuous evolution, right? And I think it's been established to an extent that in a cloud world, having an IDP and having a continuous integration and deployment makes a lot more sense to spin up an
Hmm.
environment and to deploy, right? But let's look at like what has changed in this in last 1 year or so with the Gen AI coming in, right? I believe a lot more developer productivity. Now you can really look into the developer's code itself can be done faster, do a lot more things, right? So with that, want to understand your perspective. How are you looking at this thing in terms of using Gen AI in DevOps space? And what are some of the early stuff or success that you are seeing in this?
Sure. See, Gen AI, when it came into, everybody started looking at, what are the use cases that we can, implement in terms of business use cases. So how do we, gain benefits in business with the automated content generation or video generation, context generation. And then there came a boom of, identifying that there's a lot of scope available in Gen AI to enhance the entire DevOps process itself. So there are, in that entire DevOps process, there are, starting from where developers are doing lot of repetitive tasks, writing, it could be, some service initialization, or it could be some authentication authorization, that they are doing logging errors, or, writing in code, currently, which, writing in code in their, whichever ID is there. First, it started from there, how we can, automate this part, or sorry, I would say how we can use Gen AI in this part. If, we can start the, writing boilerplate code is already available. So here we had a crack with the GitHub Copilot that was released. So GitHub Copilot, with this new set of features, you get code suggestions depending on the content, or depending on the comment that you are giving. It is also able to suggest, the piece of code. Though there is a review process involved in all the Gen AI processes, there is a review obviously involved. A human intervention is needed, but then, it can suggest code. It can provide, you can just write, what you intend to do in the code in a natural language way, and it can give you. So essentially that means that now I can convert my Jira user stories into code directly by using these codecs, which is, codecs and Git, that is also being used by GitHub Copilot, also known as GitHub Copilot. So you are directly converting your user stories into code. Earlier, user test creation was some part that, people have to write it on their own. Now entire user generating user test, unit test, are now being created by GitHub Copilot. Proposing or fixing some bugs in your code, or, changing your language of the code from, one language to another in a different tech stack. So first is, from a coding point of view, these were all the things that developers had to do. And in recent times, especially with GitHub Copilot and Copilot Chat, and Chat now being available in Visual Code, and Visual Code, and, Visual Code Plus, and then, it is also being available in other IDs in beta version. I feel that's one space that has evolved a lot. And with that, definitely with Copilot, prompt engineering, I would say, has also evolved parallelly. Because the better your prompts are to any chatbot, to be it, Chat GPT, or be it, in Copilot, that has also evolved. And that's, you have to be really good in prompt engineering and have better prompts for system also to respond to you better. So that area is one thing that I definitely see, that there is a lot of adoption within all the enterprises with the GitHub Copilot chat features that has come in, and people are using and realizing the productivity of at least 10 to 15% is what I could say that I have seen, even in, personally in my area as well, and outside in the industry standards also. Secondly is, on the root cause analysis. Earlier, having a complex system architecture, finding out a root cause analysis, having one DevOps or an SRE engineer to, to find out the root cause and trying to implement best practices. This load of data collection, and this load of, was resolving the issues that are also being now automated. So in a way, we are also having now centralized monitoring logging tools, and there are different technologies also available. Datadog is one of them, where they are using lot of Gen AI features to do proactive monitoring and resolve the issues before they even encounter in production system. So that's one of the, Gen AI features that we see post deployment as well. And lastly, between your development, between your production, this pipeline automation challenges that the regularly our developers or the team faces, the, any DevOps engineer faces. There are a lot of, automation being created in terms of, creating feature branch, or, you have to merge branches into the main branch. You have to create pull requests, automation coming in, and automation of the test use cases. So test automation is another, area where Gen AI is penetrating a lot. So I believe in area of DevOps, starting from development, pipeline creation, spinning up infrastructure, and our post deploy and deployment, automation via deployment, and then having, what Gen AI based monitoring and logging has taken a key part, and in streamlining the Gen AI. With the intervention of Gen AI in this entire process, we are now able to release software more frequently. We are able to secure our entire pipelines and entire journey more frequently. There is a higher quality available, I would say, more bringing in more efficiency in terms of code, the code secure code that is being delivered, and also the time to market, and our developers get more time to generate more user stories, and and fix more user stories, reducing their development cycles, and also overall bringing our customer satisfaction who are using these applications, who are able to see and realize their business value quickly.
Awesome. I think you talked about how the people are now using Copilot on their code, how the pipeline itself is changing in
Mhm.
terms of integration, and finally the
Mhm.
monitoring after deployment, right? How do you see this evolving into the IDP itself, right? Do you see the developers, actual IDEs will have these things, or have you started looking at how some of these pipelines for IDP? For example, one thing I always wondered is like we talked about golden path, right? The golden
Mhm.
path is a set of codes that you can inherit and do it. With
Mhm.
GenAI, probably you can create those golden path by just making like a chat bot saying that, hey, can I get a golden path for Spring Boot, right? And then it can
Mhm.
automatically give you and do. Like, do you see that getting integrated more into the ecosystem itself? Like, or have you started seeing that it's already evolving?
I see that now it is being more integrated and need of the hour, especially with Backstage also coming in. People are definitely utilizing it a lot. If there is a golden path set for particular stack of application, and there is a way on best practices how it can be delivered, people have been using it now. So I think with the coming times, more and more people are going to use developer platform. Either they take in best practices coming from Backstage, or they have a personalized developer platform for their own system, depending on the security, depending on the tech stacks that they are using in. This area is only going to grow, all in the developer platform space. And now when I started this journey on the IDP, I already realized that many of the organizations in mature in terms of tech organizations like Microsoft, they already have this IDP for years.
Yeah.
And they have already done this dynamic configuration management, which our teams would be doing it now in silos, and they have already standardized it. And with these standardized golden set part, so that's give them an edge. So why not all the organizations which are into software development would use it? And I see many of them are using it in my own personal experience, with the organizations that I know of. They already have a stable IDP, or they are in the process of having a very stable IDP, where developers can just hop on and they can start writing in code with the best practices, golden framework already available, and pushing the entire the code to production faster, and powered by our GenAI, I would say.
Awesome. And are there any tools you talked about GitHub Copilot, right? Other than
Mhm.
that, ChatGPT is another one where you can ask for a code, it comes. Are there any other tools or frameworks that you have seen that is of interest? That this is something that you can use and start getting much more productivity boost from the day one.
There are many tools available in market. With GenAI coming in, there are so many startups, there are so many tools also that have come in. But I believe few of the tools that I have definitely seen, and I know many companies are already using, is apart from GitHub Copilot, Datadog is definitely being used for in many organizations as an application performance monitoring tool. And where as I was saying, it does the proactive monitoring, and and proactively it tries to improve your application by setting up certain alerts, certain monitors with the help of machine learning and artificial intelligence. So it correlates your traces that are coming with telemetry, and then it tries to give you the best practices and implements it. So Datadog is definitely one of them. uh, Amazon Code Guru or Systuck on the secure platform sites are coming in very rapidly. So what developers want is, while writing in the code, if before it even goes for a security scan, if there can be some security vulnerability check even when I'm writing in the code. So like in the SQL injections that you're doing, or any credential issues or any forgeries that can happen, if there is some better way for generative AI space, where while writing in code it can help me detect it. So I think in these areas, Amazon Code Guru is coming up really well in automated reasoning and removing your code inefficiencies. And Sysdig is also there, which is also trying to make, or your cloud more secure and possible, and they're also using generative AI for DevOps. Project management, since DevOps is not just about technology, it is also about agile methodology, and having an effective flow of communication within the team and having project management. There are tools like ClickUp as well, or PagerDuty, that are also doing a lot of generative AI have taken in the space of access management, or writing status updates, using status updates, using AI to write it, or grouping alerts into single incidents for faster remediation. There's a comprehensive catalog of services that they also offer. So in this space also, I feel many of the generative AI tools like System or ClipUp, these are also coming up.
Awesome. Cool. I think there are quite a few questions, so I'll just pick the first one. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
that migrating from one software stack to another is more easier with GenAI? I think you touched upon it. You want to elaborate that more, right?
Uh, I would say in with from earlier times, yes. With the GitHub Copilot chat coming in, and my personal experience, what I've seen from GitHub Copilot chat, moving from one software stack to another is something that people used to dread earlier, but now it would be more accessible with these Gen AI features that are coming in.
Just adding to it, I think I was in that reinvent keynote where
Mm-hmm.
Andy Jesse was talking about how they used their new Gen AI feature to migrate their own version, I think, or JDK or something, to the next version
Mm-hmm.
without
Right.
them having to write any aspect of code. And
Absolutely.
then he
Hmm.
said like some thousands of man hours got saved by just taking this and replicating it. Right? I think these are some of the
Correct.
stuff which definitely happen
Hmm.
because all you do is like take the same code base, move to the next version. I think migrating from one software to another, or maybe migrating from one version to another version, I think there are already use cases that are being used that are probably like we can see the evidences of it being used.
Yeah, no, I mean it's all making developer life easy. I can imagine the in earlier days when we used to code, moving from one version to another was a big task. But now, from moving from one software stack to another is also quite a click of a button, one click deployment for them.
Yeah. And I'll go to the next one. Can you also share some FinOps tools for the IDP implementation?
FinOps tools, there are many available in the market. Okay, so there are many. If you go and type Cloud FinOps tool in Google, you'll get n number of tools. It is first is, I would say, before investing in any of the expensive FinOps tool, though they save your money, they also take a good share of money from you to give those recommendations. So first is definitely first see the usage of the native cloud explorer or advisor that the cloud, the Azure or AWS or GCP gives in. And if you, and on top of that, there are many other FinOps tool that gives you a consolidated view, that also gives you remediation on how to solve it. And these specific FinOps tools that are now available in market are also putting in Gen AI features within their tool, where they will be able to suggest that depending on your usage, they will automatically increase or decrease the the stack underlying beneath it. So with that aspects, for FinOps tools, there are many available from Harness, from Clara, from Yotascale. There are many different available in the market. It's all about you need to understand your investment, that also you want to do it in a FinOps tool, because FinOps tool is, I would really, it's not an inexpensive thing. So, and also the one that fits right in your landscape, or is it something that you might also want to build in house if you have a capability?
Awesome. I think those are the two questions we had. With that, I think we are coming to the end. Like any other top three items that you want to share with the viewers that you haven't yet shared?
Yeah. So I would say at least I don't know if I have top three, but one thing that I would really want to say is, in the entire DevOps process, please go and see it in your organizations. If you can streamline the entire DevOps process in a better way and bringing in the developer satisfaction, and if we can streamline the entire process with the use of Gen AI features, look for the specific use cases. Need not whatever we discuss, everything has to go in, at one time. Take it step by step, starting with, which is the key area that you would like to focus on. because all of generative AI, though the use case and the ease that it provides, it is not an, it is heavy on the pockets too. So please, make a judicious call where you start, what is your end goal, and how do you invest in all the GenAI features. They do bring in a lot of features and lot of capability and giving you that ease. But start, as a strategic step, I would say start slow. Start, with which step, what do you want to do, and then take it gradually for your entire system.
I think we just got one more question. We'll take it as the last one.
Yeah. What
What
are
are the
the
recommendations for DevOps to add GenAI skills to be more productive?
for DevOps to add GenAI skills to be more productive? So I think I am not getting the question correct. So Gen AI skills are already bringing in productivity. If I understand your question is to make Gen AI skills more productive, would be
I think the question
better.
is like, how should DevOps add GenAI skills to them so that they can be productive? I think.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I have talked about many instances, in last half an hour where you can explore Gen AI, which are overall reducing your time to deployment and having faster time to market. So identify those use cases starting from development, starting from your pipeline, your testing, secure coding, and in your CD part on the continuous deployment, and as well as in monitoring. In each phase of code, deploy, monitor, there are GenAI use cases. So identify those use cases and then start implementing them.
Awesome. Thanks for Namrata. With that, we come to the end of this Amnic cast. It was
Thank you.
nice having you on this. Thank you.
Thanks, Satya. It was nice having everyone. Thank you all.